Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. We're going to give everybody just a minute to join in as we're starting here at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. So as everyone starts to flow in, please feel free to jump in the chat and call out where you're coming in from. We'd love to hear from you. And then we will dive into this webinar here in just a moment. I'll start. Excellent. Well, as we're starting to have some folks flow in, I want to introduce everyone to Jessica Allen, our new AM from Phoenix, Arizona. And it's great to have you here with us, Jessica.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here. Sunny Phoenix, but we dropped under 100 degrees. Very exciting milestone.
I'm in New Orleans. We're finally in what we would call gumbo weather. It's a little cold outside, finally, a little taste of fall. So it's good to have everybody here. Uh,
Absolutely.
So, Jessica, just so that we can get started fairly promptly, I know we want to be respectful of everybody's time. The title of our webinar today, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining, is our three main takeaways from IMEX. And then I know the reason everybody's here, we discussed doing a more in-depth demo. So, why don't we start with that? It was your first time on site at IMEX Vegas, IMEX America. What were your three biggest takeaways in your conversations with attendees at IMEX?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so much fun to be there and talk to current clients, prospective clients, our partners. I really enjoyed the couple of days on the show floor. I think my first takeaway was just listening to the range of event sizes and frequency that event organizers are working with. So we talked to people who are holding one event annually with 20 to 30 speakers and event organizers who are working with multiple events per year with hundreds to thousands of speakers per event. So there was quite a range that people are working with, and with that, it really triggered in my mind just the scalability of what people are organizing, and that really lended itself to the need for technology to organize. A program like that. And that's really where I think Sessionboard can come into play to support event organizers in growing programs. The second big takeaway was just how manual a process it is that people are still working with. So we heard time and time again, people are organizing speakers and content through Excel spreadsheets and their email inbox. And it is very time consuming, very painful. When you have more than 20 speakers, that's a lot of touch points. If you need 5+ things from every speaker, in addition to their session content, but maybe it's their bio, their headshot, making sure they register for their event, they book their hotel. It's a lot of touch points if you have one person managing that. So it's painful. Not only is that time consuming, but that's a lot of data integrity coming into play, making sure you gather all of that. So we heard that in so many conversations on the show floor. And that kind of lent into my third takeaway, which was improving that collaboration with the speakers that they're working with. There was really a desire to create an improved experience, because they're doing that in such a manual way today. They wanted to make that better. That desire was there of how do we just improve that experience? How do we collaborate more closely with our speakers? How do we make that more, streamlined and effective so that our speakers want to work with us and come back year over year? And I thought that was really interesting and impactful as well.
Love that. So, everything that you talked about, I heard a lot of the same stuff while we were in the booth for three straight long days. It was quite the marathon. Hope everybody got home safely and uneventfully. So with that, we'd love to dive in. I know we have a diverse group, associations, for-profit organizers, corporations. So We're going to do a more holistic view of the platform, starting with our speaker CRM, which allows organizers like those that are joining us here today to be able to manage your speaker network. So anything from your smallest webinars up to your largest annual conference. So why don't we dive in there? And Jessica, I'm going to ask you the classic question, and that is, can you see my screen?
I sure can.
Perfect. So everybody, this is going to be the Sessionboard CRM. So essentially here is where you would be able to manage all of your events, both upcoming and past. One of the things I really like to call out here whenever we're looking at an org level is the ability to search through your entire speaker database. So with Sessionboard, if you're just looking to join Sessionboard, you do have the ability to import all of your archive data from past events, so you can utilize some of that old data as you move forward with your newer events. But this gives you your whole list of all of your speakers. And you can see on this dashboard, you have the ability to view the speaker's name, email, title, and you can update these fields that you'd like to see. But one of the things I always like to call out, these acronyms here on the right are going to be the events that these speakers were presenters at. So if I click into an individual profile, you get some great data on the speaker. So first, again, their headshot will travel with them across your events. You can have them updated if they're using the same one from years and years ago. You also have the ability to give them star ratings. So if you wanted to rank your speakers, you could certainly do that within here as well. And then any of the attributes that you collected, either from past events or events that you have going on, will update into the platform so you can fill out some of these as well. So if you collected availability from them or any of the other fields that we have. And then from there, we can set different segments. So you can see this presenter has been added to a segment called Keynote Speakers. It essentially allows us to add different lists of different speaker types. So maybe these are potential keynote speakers for future events. I can go into this area and I can invite them to future events. I can add them to an event. And it just allows you constant contact throughout the year. Now, another item I wanted to show here is that you do have the ability to take internal notes about that speaker. And this would just be viewable by your team. And then in addition to that, you can view any of the past sessions that they've been a part of. Now, this last part here is the additional contact, and it comes into play as we're looking at individual events. But if they have an executive admin or an assistant that needs to be sent the same communication or may need to be able to access the portals that we'll show here in just a little bit, they would get those same emails and that access to that portal to help accomplish tasks for that presenter. So if we zoom out here a little bit and we're looking to source speakers for future events, we can utilize what we call our advanced search. Now, the advanced search allows you to filter down and find the correct speaker based off of maybe demographics, relevance, so any of the items that you've collected, so maybe their audience type or topics or brands. In addition, maybe you wanted to search by a company information or by their history with your organization. So maybe somebody that spoke at a past conference, or maybe someone that was rated based off of your star rating that you put in. And again, you can utilize based on past tracks, languages. And then I always like to call this out here. You're not limited to the fields that you've seen here. You can create your own custom fields. So the way that this would work is maybe I want to find a female that is based in the United States for our upcoming event. So if I search here, it'll break down all of the speakers that are part of this segment, so females from the US. And then from there, maybe I want to invite Octavia to be a presenter at our event. I can send out invites here. I can create a template. So if I wanted to create one that says invite to event, you can see here it will fill in with the merge tag, so make it a more personalized email, even if you're sending it in mass. And then any of the information that you'd like to share with that speaker. And then you can set up a link to a submission form for a future event. In addition to being able to invite speakers to event, you can just add them. Maybe you had a conversation with them at IMEX and you want to add them to a future event because you really like the way that they spoke. You can add them directly into any of the conferences that you have in your organization. And when I say conference, I mean event. So let's zoom in a little bit more on an individual event. So I know we have a lot of different organizer types here today. Wanted to call out that we can start this process either at a call for speakers, call for papers point of view, or we can import your speakers that maybe you're sourced through your network, or maybe you've added them from our speaker CRM into your event. So we've got multiple ways of getting presenters into the platform. But one of the things I always like to call out here are just a couple of key points on this dashboard for the event. So first, we've got our complete onboarding. So this is where you can set up different speaker portals. So maybe you don't want to collect all the same information from your keynote speaker than you do from your roundtables or from your lightning talks. You can separate those into different portal types and assign them their own tasks or file requests or whatever it may be that you want to collect or share with that speaker type. Another piece that I always like to call out here is our content summary. So if you're collecting that final presentation from your presenters pre-event, this allows you to both review those final presentations. In addition, as we get a little bit closer to the event, if you're looking to download all of your presentations so that you can hand it off to your AV team on site, so you could break it down by date, room, session. So it makes it very easy. It'll all download into a zip file, very easy to hand off to your audio visual team. Another piece here on the right is our reporting. It just gives a snapshot overview. So let's say you're running a call for speakers and you want to see how many submissions you've gotten, how many speakers you've accepted, how many are pending, declined. This gives you a great snapshot overview. And we do have the ability to run custom reports, but for the sake of the dashboard, really just gives you a good overview. This will also show you where your most recent submissions. So for those of you that are putting together a submission form, so a call for papers, call for abstracts, you can create multiple forms within our platform. I would say the majority of our clients are utilizing one, but if you're maybe doing late breaking or having different topics that need their own form, we could certainly create, I believe, up to 20. And then, so if I go in and I create, or for the sake of time, I'll edit one here. You have the ability to set up an internal name, external name, a welcome message. So anything you want to share with those potential speakers. From there, in addition to directions or the welcome, you can also add external links, dates and deadlines. Again, this is extremely configurable by your team to be able to share with your potential presenters. Now from there, we generally will collect information about the session. So we always start with title and description. You can see here we renamed description in this particular case, the session abstract. You can also create your own fields. You can see you can make them required or not. One thing I always like to call out, and the reason that a majority of our clients only really need to utilize one form, is what we call question rules, is essentially conditional logic. So if this, then that helps answer and streamline the responses. From there, in addition to speaker information, oh, sorry, let me back up for a moment. Did want to call out, you can add your own questions. So if I wanted to create a new field and I wanted to give it a name, and then from there, what the field type is. So is it a checkbox, a date time? If you want to collect files, if you want it to be a text box, you can collect essentially any type of data in this process. Now from there, in addition to the information about the session, we like to collect information from the speakers. So we always start with first name, last name, email. In addition, just like on the session information, you can create your own questions. You can make them required or not. You can also add help text, just like on the session side, to be able to help with those responses. One thing I always like to call out here is that we recommend making the mobile phone required, because with Sessionboard, not only do you have the ability to send out emails to your presenters, you also have the ability to send out text messages, so alerts to your speakers. Last piece here on the form, you do have the ability to set a close date. One great part about this is you can change this at any time. So if you'd like to keep your call open a little bit longer, you have the ability to change that. A couple other cool features on here. We do have the ability to have members of your team be notified when new sessions are submitted, and that could be multiple. And then in addition to that, if you wanted members of your team to be notified if a submission has been updated, so if someone goes in and makes any changes to their submission and your team wants to be on top of that, you can have a member or members of your team be notified. A couple other parts here. We could set limits on the number of speakers. So if you didn't want to have more than, in this case, 8 presenters on a single submission, you can limit that. That is turn on, turn off, so you don't necessarily have to limit that. In addition, you can limit the number of times a presenter is submitted. So if you didn't want Jessica to come in and spam your call for papers, you could set a limit on 1 or 2 or however many that may be. Finally is just going to be a confirmation email. So you can configure the verbiage that you'd like to share with those potential speakers here by putting in this confirmation email. It'll be automatically sent once they finalize their submission so that they know that you received their presentation. Perfect. So now that we have our form built, let's talk a little bit about where those submissions go from the speakers. So all of your submissions would come in as pending. Again, this is our dashboard where we're able to create different views for the team. So if you wanted to, maybe you had a schedule for a particular member of the team, or you wanted to just see particular fields, you can update whichever fields you'd like and save these. This is great for teams that have multiple members going in and want to view specific tracks or view specific topics that are coming through. You could set those in here, and they'll all come in as pending. You do have the ability to change the status. So if you wanted to accept the submission or decline it, you do have that ability. We can customize the different statuses on here as well. So from here, I created a plan that shows evaluations. So their evaluation score. So this is the average score that a submission got based off of feedback from a team that you assign to evaluate. This helps us make decisions on if we want to accept or decline those submissions. Now, how do we get that score? We're able to create different evaluation plans within Sessionboard. So and you're not limited on the number of plans that you wanted to create, but I'll run through this fairly quickly. You do have the ability each time to give it a name. So let's call this abstract review. You would give them some instructions. Once you're ready to open it, you could set it as open. Anonymized review. So if you wanted it to be a blind review, you don't want the evaluators to see who that speaker is. You only want them to grade based off of the content. You could set it to where they will not be able to see who that speaker is. You do not have to turn that on. A fun function on here as well is our enable weekly reminders. So keeping those evaluators on task throughout the process. So once we assign them, they would get a weekly email just letting them know how far along they are and what they still need to grade. From there, you're able to assign certain evaluators. So we can do this based off of names or by tags, so topics that the evaluators have been assigned to. From there, you're able to filter which submissions is this particular group going to grade. So maybe we want them to grade based off of a certain track. It'll show you how many sessions match that filter. You can add additional rows, so it doesn't have to just be track. And it can be multiple. Sorry, I took that one off. So if I wanted this group to grade association and corporate events, again, it'll show you how many match that filter. And then from there, you're able to decide which fields are going to be displayed by those evaluators. So if we wanted it, again, we could take off our speaker details. We can have whichever fields that we selected in the session details. and then evaluation field. So maybe you want them to be able to add comments or check a box saying yes or no for if they should be accepted or not. You could set that within here. And then from there, we have our grading options. So one of you out there could be our first client ever to use the smiley faces, or if you wanted to utilize like a 1 through 5, and you can update those numbers based off of the way that your team reviews. And then we can also, in addition to being able to set the rating icon, you can set different criteria that you want them to grade based off of. So you're seeing 4 here: the topic, trendiness, creativeness, event fit. We can certainly customize these, and then you can weight them. You're not limited to 4. You can add additional ones. They just have to add up to 100%. And then another part here is a newer feature. So you can limit how many times a session is going to be graded. So fun feature there if you have some rules around that piece as well. And what that looks like for the evaluator is very similar to this. They would have a view that looks where they could see the evaluation plans that they're assigned to, and then they can go in and grade based off of how they feel about their submissions. They do have the ability to abstain from grading as well. So let's back up a little bit and look at our submissions. So from here, this is where we can start making our decisions on accepting or declining. This is another great part I always like to call out is once we start accepting, it'll move sessions into our agenda. Now, our agenda builder is really a piece that has factored into the 2 to 3 hours per speaker that we're finding organizers are saving while utilizing Sessionboard. And this is also where, if you're not running a call for speakers, where you would really, your journey would begin. So if we import sessions into the platform, or if you are using a call for papers and you have accepted them, this is where you would start. So we've got a few views here. So we've got our list view. We have our day view, our week view, our month view if your show is really long, our room view, so you can do all of your room assignments within the platform as well. And just a quick call out here, everything is drag and drop, so it will show you conflicts. So if a speaker is double booked or if a room is double booked, it will show you that within this area. Now, I always like to call out this, you can move your sessions where you need them to be to build out your full program. You're going to see that these are color coded. That is color coded based off of their tracks. So again, another way to easily get a good snapshot overview of your program. Now, as you're getting started, you'll have unscheduled sessions, and you can grab those from this view here and move them into the program as you wish, so where they need to be. Again, makes the time savings real add up as you're building out your full agenda. So I'm going to pause right there, Jessica. Have I forgotten anything so far?
I don't think so. I mean, I love to see people's eyes light up when they see the agenda builder at IMEX in conversations. I think talking about how it flags conflicts would be the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's showing the conflicts based off of if a speaker is double booked, if a room is double booked. So it eliminates a lot of the confusion that we're seeing in groups that are either utilizing spreadsheets and things of that nature. So really a great feature, and you can go in and resolve any conflict that you may have.
Absolutely. Big time saver.
So let's talk about the speaker's experience. So you are able to set up different portals based off of different criteria. So like we called out earlier, if they're part of a certain track or they're a certain speaker type, you can edit that criteria based off of the task or based off of the speaker type. And then from there, you're able to set up different tasks for those speakers. So I'll dive into these settings, but just wanted to call out real quick. You do have the ability to set tasks. So for example, we created one with book a hotel where we put the room block in for the presenters to be able to easily access. We're able to set due dates on those as well. you can make these required or not. Some of our tasks that we create are maybe just check a box. So accept terms and conditions. You can mark that as complete as a speaker. You can also create forms. So if you want to collect information, and I've seen organizers use this to collect their bio, headshots. I've also seen it used to collect dietary restrictions, availability during the event, or maybe travel information that they need to collect so that they can reimburse the speakers later. You can also collect files. So if you wanted to accept maybe a company logo or their CV, you can do that here. And it makes it so that not only can you accept information from the presenters, you can also share information with the presenters. So if you wanted to add a file that maybe had your tips and tricks for presenting at your event, or maybe a layout of the convention center. In addition, you can also create wiki pages to assign to them. So maybe they need to review their terms and conditions, or maybe some know before you go information. Again, really just creating a one-stop shop for the presenters. Brad, I just saw, can we add these requests at any time? Yes, you can. And that's a great call out, because whenever we're on here, you can set up email notifications. What this does is maybe you set it up at the very beginning, and then you think, oh, wait, we need to add a new task. If this email notifications is turned on, it would email the speaker letting them know that a new task has been added to their portal for them to review. A couple other items on here. So our weekly digest email, that's a weekly email that'll go out letting the speaker know where they are in the process, what they've done, what's coming up. Another part on here is the extend task deadlines. So I always like to call this out because we know sometimes presenters can be delayed with life, whatever gets in the way. This will allow them to still accomplish tasks even after the deadline, and you could set how long after you would like that. And I always like to give this example. Whenever you're looking at book hotel, if we're saying December 27th, but we can actually let them confirm that up until the 29th, that is what the 2-day extension would look like. Now, what does that look like from the presenter's view? So as a speaker, I would have a portal that looked very similar to this. Now, this would have your own branding in it. You would not have a Sessionboard logo. You're more than welcome to, but typically not. From there, you have all of the sessions as a speaker that you are associated with. So I can see both of my sessions in here. Um, Also on here, all my tasks. So we mentioned earlier, some of these are just a mark as complete where I can accept my terms and conditions. I can also have links out, so maybe to my registration site, or maybe I need to go to my room block to book a hotel. I can link that out so everything is at the speaker's fingertips. In addition, if they need to upload information, they can upload files into the platform. So for example, a company logo, they can drag and drop files right into their portal. In addition, we also have our forms that they can fill out. So any of the information that you wanted to collect along the way, you can collect that here. A lot of our clients will use this for their headshot because it will attach to their speaker record here. In addition, we have our files that we can access, or websites that we can access. So if I need to download the convention center layout, I can have access to that. Now, all of this, and of course, our wiki pages. So if we've got our terms and conditions that we need to view, we could see this. So as speaker, let me pause for a second. I see Chelsea has a question. The question is, can you set the mark as complete task to auto update once they actually do the item, i.e. acknowledging terms and condition doesn't mark complete until they actually accept those terms? So I believe what you're trying to say is that they have to manually mark that as complete. So that is their way of marking. But Chelsea, please jump in the chat if I misinterpreted what you said. But did want to call out that as they're accomplishing these tasks, your team would be able to create views within the platform where they can see what the speakers have done and what they haven't done. And you can create different views within here. So maybe you have different portal types that you want to see different views of. You can do that here. This is also where I can send out my emails. If I want to send out an email on the speaker level, I can create templates within here. I can utilize merge tags. One thing I always like to call out here as well is that we have the ability to set up a custom email domain. So the emails don't have to come from a Sessionboard email address. They can come from your org. Another part here, so if I wanted to track a particular task, maybe I wanted to see who has not let's see, who is not registered for the meeting. I can check, say, is not complete. And now it will only show me those presenters. And again, I could send out a mass email, or maybe I want to send a mass text message to these folks, and it will not put them in a group text. It is a one-way text just to that individual. So I'm gonna I would rather them not be able to mark it complete. I'd like the system to do it once they complete the task. That way they aren't saying they did something when in reality they didn't. Chelsea, I'm happy to review that with you and kind of go through those needs. Um, because if they're marking it as complete, I'd like to talk through that process with you. Perfect. So I'm gonna pause there and see if there are any other questions in the chat that I might be able to address from this point. And Jessica, if there's anything you want to add, please feel free to jump in. No, okay. So another part I always like to call out as well, since we talked about communication, I can go into all my accepted sessions and send out an email to everyone who has been accepted, often used as like an accept sessions, and we could send that just to the submitter. We could send it to all the speakers associated with the session, or we can have it with all the speakers and their additional contacts so that the speakers and those assistants or executive admins are able to receive that communication. And then finally, one thing I always like to call out here is that we do have the ability to integrate with most systems. We do have an open API, and we have some longstanding partnerships with a lot of the different event technology companies within the space. So if there's a group that you'd like to see us integrate with, please let us know. Many of the ones that we're working with are Swoogo, Cvent, Grip, Swapcard, Expo Platform, some of the marketing platforms like Gleanin and Snowball, and that's just to name a few. And then another call out here, if you're utilizing our CRM and you're wanting to start up fresh on your next event, again, all of this data will flow into that speaker CRM. We also have the ability to clone events so that you don't have to start from scratch and building out your portals and your different fields within the platform. All right. Brad, you said with the scheduling tool you showed, if I move one of the sessions, does it tell the speaker? So the speaker will be able to see the date and time that their session is in their portal. If you're making late changes, we always call out that you can choose that session and send an email to them letting them know that you've made that change. And you can utilize merge tags with the date and time on it as well. All right. So I'll open it up to any other questions that the group might have. Happy to answer anything. Otherwise, we really, really appreciate your time. Great seeing many of you at IMEX last week, and excited to continue the conversations. We will be in touch, and please let us know if you have any questions again, and then we will send Christina's question, will you be sending out this recording as well? Yes, we will. This has been recorded and we will be sending it out. So we truly appreciate everyone's time. Have a great rest of your Thursday and have a great weekend. Thank you.